Hey guys, we keep on getting questions about kind of early results. How do patients look like immediately after the procedure, standing up? And a lot of our results are kind of like on table at the end of the case. I'm taking a video and kind of showing patients kind of how awesome they look. And we just got this email from our patient. She's 2.5 weeks after her original procedure. And I want to show you like how awesome patients look even early on. She's not even 3 weeks out, and you can already see minimal bruising. Some of the kind of like, you see kind of like this is where the cannula sites are, and look how awesome she's looking just at 2 weeks, which is impressive. So I just want to go over kind of like her procedure, what was done. She previously had other treatment done to her. As you can see, she had like contour irregularities in this area and that area. You see how wide her lipedema fat is, and you can also see kind of the swelling from the socks, kind of like what that was. And we'll take you kind of like how we were able to take her from this point to that point. But let me write here to write your questions below for people who have any questions here, and we'll get started shortly. That's perfect. Okay, so let me pin it and we'll get going here. Awesome. All right, so our patient here, she's in her 40s, 2 kids, and as you can see, she's like stage 1, getting into a stage 2 lipedema. She previously had liposuction done to that inner thigh area. As you can see a little bit contour irregularities kind of come to the thigh. You see this is the previous entry site for her liposuction. You can see like asymmetric entries. But in any case, you can see kind of like volume loss here, fullness on that side. Then you can see the fullness of the lipedema fat, and nothing was done to her lipedema fat here or lipedema fat here. She did have liposuction. And just to mention, like her original lipo was not done by a lipedema expert. So another reason why you gotta make sure you go to a lipedema expert. So you can see here, she had like this contour irregularities. You can see the entry site was here, and you see the volume loss was from that area. They also over resected that area, but they didn't do the inner knee. They kind of did just that part. So she was obviously unhappy with her results. She also had cool sculpting done, which made it even kind of like worse with more scar tissue. So she had 2 treatments at the time, and she came to us basically looking like that, which is like what a typical lipedema patient looks like. And part of the reason is with lipedema, the fat sits 360 degrees around the legs. So it's not like just on the inner knee or the outer knee, or it's just like it's all the way around, and you gotta treat it all the way around to be able to get the maximum or the best outcome possible. So what we did on her is we did 360 degree liposuction to the knees, the calves, and the ankles. And now she's just being 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks afterwards. I mean, look at that. That looks like normal legs even early on. Like she's not even a month out. She's 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, which is impressive. She's not 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. So to look this awesome at so early result for somebody who had like 2 different procedures done by somebody else and looking still this way, and we're able to take her from here to here, it's impressive. And she's standing, she's super happy. I mean, she just emailed us like just now. Now, like, you know what, let me share that, because we keep on getting the questions all the time. It's like, you know what, like you show us your results on table, we want to see like standing up and all that stuff. So part of the follow-up, we're going to start asking our patients to get us there at 3 weeks, at 1 month, kind of like their recovery, what their recovery is, and we're gonna share all of them as they come, and just to show how awesome our patients are looking. So not only they look great on table, they look great standing up, as you can see in this picture here. So we did 360 to the knees, we did 360 to the calf, and 360 to the ankle. Now when you look close here, you can see she actually has normal ankles. Like you see her lipedema, basically this is the ankle bone here, and her lipedema starts at that point and then it goes up. And there's different types of lipedema. Some people it goes all the way down to the ankle, some people it kind of stops here, other people stop there, depending on the type of lipedema that the patient has. So in her case, now that being said, I'm not sure if it projects well over there. You see kind of like the compression from her socks here. and you can see the swelling. Basically, I do know that at that level she had lipedema, fat cells, because she does have swelling in that area. But as you go down to the foot and down, that's normal and that's typical with lipedema. So again, came to us looking that way, and you can see a lot of contour irregularities. You can see the old entry sites. And the other thing that I noticed on her, as I was marking her, I was like, you know, that's interesting. Your cannula entrance sites are at a different position in your legs. So of course she's gonna have contour irregularities, because attention to detail is crucial in these cases. You gotta make sure the cannula entrance site is exactly the same on both legs. You gotta make sure you're using the same cannula with the same curvature, one leg exactly the same as on the other leg with the same angles, and that's why how we're able to get these amazing outcomes. Any misstep in any of these, you're gonna get contour irregularities, and that's the problem that they had here. If you look here, just by looking at the way she is, I know that the problems that was done on her. One, asymmetric placement of cannula sites. So by doing asymmetric, they end up getting more of lipo from that area than in that area. You see that she has another entrance site here, and that resulted in over resection of fat in above the knee area. Again, being asymmetric results in asymmetric results. So attention to detail is crucial. So just gonna I'm gonna get out of the phase here, and if you wanna take a look, again, before, after, 2.5 weeks, and this is the day of the surgery. That picture was taken the day of the surgery. Look at that. Look how tiny this leg is, and natural shape. Not much bruising. Even the dots where the cannula entrance sites, you can barely see them. Like she has a dot here, a dot here, a dot there. You just, even at this early stage, you don't see them. So that tells you at 1 year how awesome these are gonna look. And with the swelling and all that stuff, normal looking legs, the lipedema legs, at just 2.5 weeks, which is impressive. Now, I'm gonna show you the back pictures of her, and let's see how her back is looking in comparison to the front as well. So let's go over here, and that's her back picture here as well. So you can see like typical lipedema fat. You see kind of transition. You see the transition here over where the socks are, and like typical transition, and this is typical like calf with lipedema. You see the inner thigh, that fat pad is there, and look at that perfect shape of that outer knee. You see the inner knee, you see how slimmer it is. Transition from the area lipo to the other area. Look how nice and smooth that is, the transition. Versus like before, like you see this is what she had, like the liposuction done. Here was not lipoed, so you can see she has the fullness here that they lipoed here, then here that inner thigh was not done. And the key is with 360 to kind of merge the lower part all the way to the upper part, and this is crucial. Again, 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, let's say 3 weeks, actually less than 3 weeks. Let's say 3 for the sake here. So this is so awesome. Just looking, you can see the bruising on this side and all that, and it's a game changer. A common, the common thing on our patient here is the results. So on her, even though we took 3.2 liters out, that's something that people is like, oh, I gotta get to 5. You don't want to get to 5, because if you get to 5 on somebody like her, she's gonna get like bad outcome, because she's gonna be over liposuctioned, over resected. The key is to find that sweet spot. Okay, so the key, you wanna be here. If you do over liposuction and you come here, that's how people get like bad contour irregularities, bad stuff. If you stop the liposuction here, that's the mistake that they did on her. They left her with a lot of lipedema fat cells. The trick is, especially on stage 1, early stage patients, the key part, the expertise is you want to stop at that level. You want to stop at the level where you have the best cosmetic outcome possible and where you took the most lipedema fat cells out and resulted with a great shape. And this is like so important to get that. Most novice surgeons, either they overshoot and they think, oh, I want to do the best for the patient, I want to get 5 liters out, I want her to be happy. patients end up with bad cosmetic results. Or like in her case, they were scared because it's like an area like, oh, I don't want to touch the knees, I'm worried to go below the knees, all that stuff. Then they underdo it, and then the patient end up seeking us for getting her the results that she was looking for. Now, again, it's always easy to fix under resection. Like I'd rather patient coming to us, her original surgeon doing less on her than over resection. If they did over liposuction, it's very hard to correct because you have mottling of the skin, it looks like skin graft, now you have the skin like adhere to the muscle, and it's just very hard problems to correct. So do your homework, go to an expert, it's very, very important. Now let's go back. I want to show you something on the other one here, and that's gonna write here 3 weeks. Even though she's not 3 weeks, she's actually at 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks to be exact. But let's say, I don't know what I'm saving here. I shouldn't be saving there. Okay, good. So let's say here 3 weeks, even though she's at 2. So again, by looking at here, a lot of people are asking, it's like, okay, how am I gonna look kind of like, you know, immediately after or 2 weeks after? I mean, she is at her peak, right? 2 weeks to 3 weeks after surgery is like the peak of swelling, the peak of bruising. And look how they look after LippyLipo. I mean, it's a game changer, guys. It really is. I get so excited about it because I've done so many techniques before, so many ways of moving things around. And when I started getting those results with LippyLipo, that was a game changer. I mean, that was really, it changed the entire game for us. I think I've seen a question here. Let me kind of go after the getting some of the questions in here. Okay, so as I'm scrolling, very familiar names I see here. Some of them are our patients. Hi, everyone. Beauty House is asking, is always mandatory 360 for lipedema? Yes, 100%. So to understand what's the right procedure, we have to understand what the problem is. With lipedema fat, as you can see, it's 360, the lipedema fat sits 360 degrees around the limb, whether the arms, the elbows, the knees, the ankle, or the thighs. Most regular liposuction, like in her case, she's a perfect example. They liposuctioned the inner knee, they liposuctioned here, and they liposuctioned there. That's it. That's why she wasn't, so they treated 30% of the problem. So if she didn't have 360 lipo, and if you don't get 360 lipo, you cannot get these results. So that's an example of not a 360 degree lipo done by somebody else. And that's an example of us less than 3 weeks after with 360 lipo. And it's not only 360 lipo, it's like LippyLipo. 360 LippyLipo is a game changer. Now, 80-90% we're doing it at the same time, 360 like in her case. However, if somebody's stage 3, 4 where they have a lot of lipedema fat, we are doing 360 lipo in 2 stages. Let's say we do one on Tuesday and one on Thursday, where we do the front on Tuesday and the back on Thursday. But these are like 10 to 20% of the cases. 80% of the cases we're doing 360 at the same time. Very good question. So the short answer to you, you gotta have it as 360 lipo, 100%. Because otherwise it would be regular lipo, it's not going to get you the outcome you want. KAW is asking, after the procedure, will the fat come back in the same places? You know, that's a great question. Our experience is our recurrence rate or fat coming out of people is like almost zero. I don't want to say zero because nothing is zero in medicine, but we haven't seen it. Like I've never seen like patients where we've done LippyLipo on and then they come back like 2 years later and now they went from a stage 1 or 2 to a stage 3 or 4. Like we just don't see it. And I think the key is to make sure you do a great work from the first time. If you clean all that lipedema fat cells or most of that lipedema fat cells, you're gonna have an amazing outcome. You're gonna have long-lasting results. Obviously, you gotta make sure you have good diet, exercise, good healthy habits to maintain it, and that's key. Because otherwise, let's say, what I've seen is like you treat the legs. Let's say this patient, she has it on her arms. She doesn't do anything to the arms. She's not on an anti-inflammatory diet. She's not working out, and she goes through another pregnancy or menopause where normal lipedema would progress. Then her arms might progress. Because her legs, it's not gonna progress because there's not much lipedema fat cells in that area. So we typically don't see lipedema coming back. Once you treat it, it's done. Levin is asking, is this covered under insurance? Our practice we are not in network with insurance. And part of the reason is quality. Like with insurance the problem is the reimbursement is based on how many cases you can do a day, it's a numbers game. With what we do, it's quality over quantity. So we do only one procedure per day. And when you do one procedure per day, the numbers don't work with the insurance. So the insurance say, hey, you know what, it doesn't work for us. And vice versa. So you gotta ask yourself the questions like, do you want quality or do you want quantity? If you want quality, amazing results looking this way in less than 3 weeks, you gotta go, just like high quality, like 1 case a day. So we start, that's all what we did on her. She already had 2 procedures. She had a lot of scar tissue, a lot of scarring, fibrosis. She's seen 2 different surgeons. And she's already, they already messed her up so badly. So that's what we do. We just spend the entire day working with micro cannulas, this, that, to be able to get her. She's super happy because like, oh my God, I never thought I'd be able to go from here to here in less than 3 weeks, despite having 2 previous surgeries that failed on her. Not only failed, they gave her actually worse contour irregularities. So that tells you then she could have done the route of insurance, and guess what? I promise you, she's gonna get, it's very hard to explain because you gotta understand the macroeconomics of things from a hospital standpoint, from a physician standpoint, from all that stuff. It's like, it's very hard to have high quality, high customer experience, high outcome, very cheap. It just doesn't work. That's unfortunate. That's how life is. Because high quality takes love, takes energy, takes passion to it, takes time. And for that, it comes the value that comes with it. And that's a personal decision. So, and that's part of the reason we don't take insurance in our practice. Good question though. It's funny and kind of like, Beauty House saying thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. I love it, guys. I love what I do. So I kind of like, I just enjoy being here. So, K Boldy is asking, can it be done in the arms or only the legs? Yeah, we do. So our practice, we only do LippyLipo. That's all. I used to do like, you name it, I used to do it in plastic surgery. But due to the high demand of LippyLipo, that's all what I do. I do awake, lipedema, liposuction, LippyLipo. To the arms, to the legs, and to the trunk. Now, most of our before and after, you see them legs because most of our volume is legs. Around 80 to 85% of the volume we do is legs. And then the rest of it is arms and then trunk area. Again, because most lipedema patients are bothered by their ankles, their knees, their mobility, their activity, being able to lose that fat that they cannot lose. Because with lipedema fat, it's resistant to diet and exercise. No matter what the patient is doing, they're not losing that fat, and it's almost always kind of in that like in the lower extremity. So the arms, they can tend to hide it and stuff. It doesn't bother, and that doesn't involve much people in lipedema because most lipedema patients are type 3. Kind of they have it like kind of like the buttock shelf area, the thighs, the knees, the calves, and the ankles, and that's like around 80%, and that's what we see in our practice. We don't do skin resection. We're not doing any other procedures now except LippyLipo. And as you're looking, you gotta make sure you go to somebody that's all what they do. They have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of before and afters. You talk to hundreds of their patients, make sure they have amazing testimonials, and they're consistent with their results. Like every patient that gets, they're posting their results. Obviously, if the patient agrees, right? Sometimes we have patients, they don't want to share, and that's okay, it's their body. But we are confident, say, hey, give us the okay, we're going to post your results. This is how much we're confident in our results. So even like our patient here, she's like, oh my God, like, she's awesome, like, but she came to us, she's kind of like, I had 2 other procedures done by somebody else and this and that. So she's starting kind of like, not like brand new, our patient. So, and still we got an amazing outcome. So that's why you gotta make sure you do your research, make sure who you're going after, because you're spending money on the other people as well, time, recovery, and still you're not getting the outcome that you want. So that's why I tell people, like, yeah, I mean, it might sound good, like, you know, you go down the round of insurance or cheap places or that, but the odds are, it's probability, right? I mean, you might get lucky and get a good outcome, but the chances are you're gonna end up in her shoes. And that's kind of what I'm trying to kind of like, in a way, minimize and add more awareness to people about truly understanding where things are in lipedema. And now more and more non-specialists are taking more on lipedema, and they are going through that learning curve. You don't want to get caught into what we call like a falling knife. You don't want to be on that person who they are being trained on, the staff is being trained on. It's very simple. The way to tell, like, and I understand, like, you know, with our practice, we're very selective, very exclusive. So not everyone's gonna afford us, and I get it. So if you don't have the resources and you want to go to a place where, you know, it might fit more your budget, okay? This is what you need to ask. You want to know, hey, what other stuff that you do for the surgeon, okay? If they tell you, oh, I do eyes, I do noses, I do this, I do that, and lipo, and tummy tuck, and that, and lipedema, and liposuction, run away, because you're not gonna get those outcomes, 100%, guaranteed. The other question you wanna ask is, other than doing multiple, how many, let's say they tell you, hey, you know what, I just do awake liposuction or lipedema. Okay, great. How many do you do a day? Okay, and that's gonna tell you a lot of answers. And the reason for that is, if they tell you I do 2 a day, or 4 a day, or 6 a day, there's a huge issues there. And I'll tell you why. Because in her case, it usually takes about 4 to 6 hours to do these cases. If the surgeon doing every single little thing of the entire case, from mixing the medications all the way to walking the patient out through the door, right? To do that takes about 4 to 6 hours. Now, but to get these outcomes, you gotta have that specialist, them doing that, passionate about it, totally, they have like the talent to do it, and then getting you to that point. When they start doing like 3, 4, 5 cases a day, now you gotta ask, okay, who's doing the numbing? Who's doing the lipo? Who's doing the equalization? What's doing that? How are these being done, those cases, in 2 hours? Right? I mean, it's an honest question. How is that case being done in 2 hours? Like, explain to me. Okay? Well, is the patient in pain and you're still going because you have 3 other patients in the waiting room that you need to get done? Right? Or there is some magic, or sedation is being given to the patient, and anesthesia and general anesthesia and all that stuff, and that comes with its own complication. So how is that being fit in? And once you understand all that stuff, you're like, the numbers don't add up. Like, they don't. And then you gotta see, okay, well, yeah, maybe that's general anesthesia, or maybe this part of the procedure is being done by X, or this, or Y, or Z, and different practices, they have their own things. But to be able to do like many of these a day, something gotta give. And you gotta see if that thing that's giving, if it's something that you're okay with. And that's really crucial questions to ask, guys. Kauthar is asking, patient with lots of varices can do this procedure? Yes, the answer, absolutely. Actually, most of lipedema patients, they have varicose veins, because lipedema disease is not only a fat storage disease, it's a collagen disease. And since it's a collagen disease, the vessels, the walls of the vessels made of collagen, they're easy. That's why people have easy bruising, they have varicosities, because it's part of the same disease. So most of our patients, like if you look at her, I don't see, probably on the back pictures, you can see some varicosities. So we almost always treat lipedema first, and the varicosities tend to get better. And anything left, then we leave it for vein surgery down the line in the future. But you don't need to treat the veins before LippyLipo. Do your LippyLipo first, and then you do the veins afterwards. This is very important. Brandon is asking, can you send me information on this procedure? the link in bio, if you go on our bio, the link there, you can send our new patient paperwork photo, take a look at it. And we have tons of these live Q&A where if you just sit at home and just watch them, you're gonna learn so much about lipedema. You're gonna know what stage you are, what type you are, how many sessions do you need. I mean, you're gonna know much about lipedema, more than like 90% of the population, probably 90% of the surgeons out there, because it's one of the most under-known diagnosis or under-known diseases in medicine is lipedema, and especially the treatment and the stuff. It's really kind of like we're starting the future here, especially with LippyLipo. Like these results, even with me, and that's all what I do. Like 5 years ago, I wasn't at this level. So I'm continuously learning and expanding and moving things around to get it to this level. So we are at the beginning of a beautiful journey for lipedema treatment and helping patients with lipedema. Okay, Baldy is asking, thank you. I would like information sent to me. Again, link in bio. Go there, send us the stuff. Go over the live Q&A. You're going to get tons of information about lipedema. These slides are like game changer. Esther Philip is asking, what about the extra skin? I mean, good question. We get asked about that all the time. What happens to the extra skin when you do all that? I mean, take a look. She's not even 3 weeks out. I don't see any problem to her skin. I mean, her skin actually looks more tight compared to before. Despite having like all this like, lipedema fat pad here and another fat pad here and all that. Look at that skin. And then a lot of people ask us, oh, do you do J-plasma, heating device, vaser, laser? There's like so many stuff that, they upcharge patients for it and all that stuff. You don't need it. It's all like marketing tools to basically get more money from the patient. I mean, look at that. I could say, oh yeah, we use J-plasma here and it costs you $5,000 more to get this result. You're like, oh my God, I want J-plasma and all that stuff. It's amazing. You don't need it. It's actually, potentially you can argue with heat, more lymphatic fibrosis, lymphatic issues, burn to the skin. There's a lot of side effects that comes with it. So you gotta be careful. Like we had a patient this morning, she called, she's like, oh, hey, do you do J-plasma? Well, and Jerry was like, no, we don't. We do LippyLipo, and there's always like, no, I want that. Because why? Because of the marketing stuff. The patient had no idea. Like you guys don't know. I mean, it's not like, it's not your expertise, it's a disease you have. You're trying to search for the most information you can so that you make the best decision for you that's possible. But then you come across certain things like, I don't know, maybe it's right, maybe it's not right. You have no idea, right? But that's all what I do. And I know it like the back of my hand. So there's a lot of marketing stuff. Think about it. A practice bought like a machine for like $500,000, right? They need to use it to make the return on that. You think they're going to say, oh, no, you don't use it, or it's bad? Because also, the previous patients who were treated with that machine, they'll be like, oh my God, I paid like that X amount of money for that and it's useless. I mean, it's no different. Look at cool sculpting, look at all this non-invasive stuff that were done. I mean, they go through the fade, they make a lot of money and then say, like she had cool sculpting done, right? And she had liposuction by a non-lipedema plastic surgeon done. And she still came to us for that. So don't waste your money on stuff here and that. Do your research, go to an expert, and make the right decision. It's so crucial. So to go back to your question here as to extra skin, I don't see any extra skin. She's going to be fine. She's not going to need any skin dissection, anything of that. Now that being said, somebody who's stage 4, who's a massive weight loss that lost 100 pounds, they need skin resection with or without LippyLipo, right? I mean, they're starting already from an extra skin. That population, you need to do the liposuction on, and then you do skin resection on. So if people need skin resection, they need skin resection irrespective. And if they don't need skin resection, like stage 1, stage 2, they just don't need skin resection. So that's, another thing that I want to mention is, first I see Maria joining here. Big shout out to Maria. You guys gotta join her group. She's awesome. She's like, she's one of the early people who introduced me to lipedema, and she helped me tremendously when I first started, especially on the recovery side, all that stuff. I'm forever grateful for her. And let me just kind of take tangent here. That's important to say. So that's a lot of people. You gotta make sure, like there's a lot of influencers on lipedema or people kind of getting things done and here and there. Be careful. What is the return that the person is getting from what they're saying, right? So let's say if I'm selling this pen and I say, oh, well, this is amazing and all that stuff. guess what? So if that influencer saying, okay, you know what, I use J Plasma, or I use this leggings, and that leggings is making, and if that person is an influencer for that legging company, let me tell you, do your homework, because that might not be the best legging for you. So know what's the extra thing that the people are coming from. With Maria here, she doesn't ask for anything. She just do it from the bottom of her heart to give the best thing for her group, for her people. So be careful for the people who are, you're hearing from them and they have like their own agenda of getting things done. Irrespective whether whether influencing for the surgeon, right? Like all our patients, we don't give them anything. Like my patient here, she didn't get anything. Like they don't get free surgery, they don't get discounts on their surgery, they don't get anything from us. And I do it on purpose, even though I would love to do stuff for them. Like I would love it because they are awesome. But I refuse to, because I never want to reach a point where they say, oh, he has these, because, he gives that to the patient. I don't. If somebody gives us a great testimonial, thank you so much. It has more value than telling them, hey, give us a free testimonial and we're going to take $1,000 off your surgery. Or send us your before and after and we're going to take $500 off. We just don't do that because we want value. We would never want to go into that. It's a slippery slope. So if we get it, because we deserve it. And if we don't get it, because also we deserve it. So, and that's kind of what you want to look at. You got to look for those. You got to be very, very smart when you're doing your research and your expertise. You got to be super, super smart about it. Otherwise, you're going to end up like our patient here. I mean, we got to a great point, but she spent years, treatments, and still she looked like she had lipedema with contour irregularities. And she spent all that money, all the recovery, all the risks of doing surgeries, and still had what she had. So do your homework and be careful who you are listening to. Kaite saying facts, thank you. It is what it is. When you talk reality and when you talk honesty and truth and put things out there, people are very smart. Lipedema patients are so smart. You know why? Because they've been lied to their entire life, and their antenna of catching the vibes of people taking advantage of them is so good. So they know if that is like, oh, you know what, there's some sketchiness about it, and so they know it. And if it's true and honest and that, they know it as well. And that's why I love my lipedema community, because we can relate. Because that's throughout life, you kind of you see who's right, who's not right, and time will tell, and experiences can tell, and consistency is key. And thank you. Maria saying, Dr. Salameh, you only do one surgery daily. Now, if I understand well, how many hours do you need for one surgery? Great question, Maria. 4 to 6 hours. Our patient here, 6 hours. So we finished her case, I think, around 5 in the afternoon. So now that some people say, oh my God, you're going to be there in 4 to 6 hours. Yes, you want to be there for, you know why? Because if that case was done in 2 hours, she's not going to get this results in less than 3 weeks. Impossible. It's just impossible. Why is that? Because that case, she had so much scar tissue from her previous surgery and cool sculpting and all that stuff. I had to use so many different types of cannula and figure out the right cannula that actually fits her tissue so she doesn't get pain from the numbing part. So that took me about half an hour to figure that out. What works for her, what speed infiltration works for her. Because remember, she's fully awake, no sedation, no general anesthesia, none of that. Awake, like us talking now. No pain pills, no Percocet, no Oxy, nothing, zero. Purely her. So I need to make sure she has a great experience. I need to figure out what the speed is going to be, what cannula we're going to use her. And then you gotta give it time for the numbing medicine to soak, for the epinephrine to soak, to minimize blood loss on her so that her recovery is fast. So for that part, you give it about half an hour from the numbing part to start the lipo. And the lipo, you gotta use micro cannula on her. If you lose regular cannula, she's already prone to irregularities. And that's how her previous surgeons got in trouble, because they used normal regular liposuction on her. So you gotta use micro cannula, about 2 to 3 hours to do that. And then I spent an hour at the end just pure sculpting. Without lipo, without anything, just sculpting the entire area and making sure I'm stimulating collagen inside out without any heated device to be able to get that. And she's only 2.5 weeks out. Not much swelling, not much that. Most lipedema patients look at that at 2 weeks. Let's say if you get high volume lipedema, or let's say you're getting under general anesthesia, there are no ways you'll be looking this good and happy and just kind of moving at 2 weeks. It's impossible. Ask me how, because I've done it. That's how I used to do it. It's just impossible, So to answer the question, Maria, here, it's 4 to 6 hours these cases take. And I'm a very efficient surgeon. I used to do 4 lipedema a day under general anesthesia. And I would just fly through the cases and I was getting good results, but not these results. Not awake. Awake is a game changer. Like awake is like, yesterday I had a plastic surgeon from Harvard. He reached out to me and he was asking if taking my advice about private practice ideas. And part of the questions he's asking is like, what's your thoughts on awake, liposuction, all that stuff? Like, is it really that good? I'm like, bro, it's a game changer. It's the future of liposuction. I know in big academic center and everything is done under general anesthesia and just because there's a lot of egos, there's a lot of that's how they are trained. I'm like, if that was your wife or your daughter, trust me, you want to do it awake. Why? It's safer, faster recovery, less blood clots, less blood loss. People are walking out immediately. If you go down in the cannula, guess what? The patient's gonna feel it. Because it's not, if you're under general anesthesia, they're paralyzed, you're taking over the heart, the lung, and people you just go, that's how complications happen. So it's by far the safest way of doing it. So, but the downside, and that's what I told him, it takes time. And it doesn't work when you plug insurance into it because it takes time. Insurance compensates based on numbers, not on quality. Like, let's say you do a case under insurance. The reimbursement to the hospital or the physician or whoever taking advantage of that is the same. Whether you do an amazing outcome or a crappy outcome, it's the same. So guess where so you're being stimulated on doing more numbers as a hospital or physicians or the group is. Right? You're not being compensated on the quality of the work. Who pays the price? The patient pays the price. Unfortunately, that's how it is. You gotta understand that, and you say, okay, what price am I gonna pay? Am I gonna pay the price financially, or I'm gonna pay the price as from an outcome standpoint? And different people have different things, but they do take time. Sadia is saying, how much does the procedure cost, please? Our prices, we charge anywhere between 25,000 to 50,000 per case, per session. And sometimes based on the complexity of the disease. Now, I try not to talk much about prices, but we get hammered about it a lot. And I'm like, if I'm on the other side, I want to know. So let me kind of make it really for people to understand. You say, okay, well, you can go down the insurance route and we talk, it's the value you're getting to the price. In my opinion, you're getting the entire day of somebody that's all what they do, they're so talented about it, they are consistent in their results, they're able to do my entire lower legs in like 1 week and 1 recovery, and I know what I'm gonna get. It's actually so cheap. So that's how I view it. It's like so cheap, like it's such a good price. Look at her. She paid for cool sculpting, she paid for another plastic surgeon, then came back to us. Then we had the procedure. Then she paid 25 to 50,000 per session, right? So she actually lost. If she had came to us from the get-go, she would have saved a lot of money. So that's kind of like how, from a pricing standpoint. Now that being said, I understand a lot of people don't have $50,000 or 40 or 30 or 25, whatever that complexity is. You're gonna go with somebody else, and that's okay. But make sure you do your homework. Know exactly what you're getting. Are you getting, who's doing your lipo, who's doing your tumescent? Is it general anesthesia? Is it awake? What's the complication rate? Sometimes I go on those talks and then I see the complication rate. I'm like, oh my God. It's a disaster. Like burns, skin that are dead, all this stuff. And I'm like, oh my God. And then you see, it's like, how much did the patient lose? It would be much easier if she paid the right thing and got it right from the get-go, got amazing outcome, amazing experience, and then she's done with it. It's behind her. So, no, and that's why I'm like, argh. And I wish the insurances do compensate for quality. I'll be the first one to take it. The first one to take it. If insurances compensate for quality, I'll be the number one. Because I know I can deliver quality, and I know the compensation will be worth that. Other than that, if they're gonna keep on doing, oh yeah, do this, do that, and they're dictating what the outcome's gonna be based on the volume, same for the hospital, it's the same thing. It's based on numbers, based on volume. So that's kind of the short thing about insurance. Maria is asking, how many liters tumescent do you use for the surgery? Well, for this specific case, I put 5.2 liters in and 3.8 liters out. 3.2 out. So I have 5.8 liters in and 3.2 liters out. And that's, Maria, that's a perfect case, because if that case, let's say she's 3.2 out, right? Let's say I'm a novice surgeon, I say, you know what? And the patient's asking for 5 liters, she wants to maximize it and get the best out. She would have a horrible results. She would have such a bad results. She'll have looking like mottled, skin graft, she'll be over dissected. And these cases are the hardest to treat. So you got somebody inexperienced, or who they take insurance, or they do like $10,000 a case, you get that outcome, good luck. It's gonna cost you like $100,000 plus to improve where you are, and you'll never get the outcome that you're looking for. It's a done deal. You just lost your chance, unfortunately. But that's where the expertise come into play. So how did I know that 3.2 liters out is actually the best for her, and that's gonna give her this amazing result? It's experience, it's taking the time, it's doing it in 6 hours versus going in, okay, we're done, we took 5 liters out, and then okay, on to the next patient. You're not gonna get that. So 5.8 liters in on her, 3.2 liters out. And you know what? Different patients are different. And I used to play with like how many in, how many out, all this. I had all these Excel sheets, how many blood loss and that. Like with general anesthesia, the blood loss is much higher. And at some point, I mean, we were having around like 4% of transfusion rate, which is high on regular liposuction. When you talk to lipedema liposuction, under general anesthesia, it's kind of around there. When we shifted to LippyLipo, you know what our transfusion rate has been? 0. Like 0. I'm sure at some point somebody's gonna need it, but after doing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, it's 0. Why is that? Because we're giving the time to the epinephrine to work. We're giving time for the tissue to kind of absorb the fluid. We're giving time with microcannula, all these changes. No anesthesia at all, no sedation, no dilation of the blood vessels. Then you're able to get these amazing results. Everything is at a price. Everything that you have to do, like pros and cons. So again, time, quality, microcannulas, all these stuff is a game changer in getting these consistent results. Excellent questions, Maria. Like these are like perfect questions. How much did it cost in British pounds, please? I have no idea, Sadia. You gotta do the math. Hearts is saying hello. Alok is saying, how long is the recovery? She's less than 3 weeks out. I mean, that's her. 2.5 weeks out. Patients walk out after the surgery. Like that's mind-blowing for people. They're like, okay, I'm done. They walk out immediately after. So potentially you can say no recovery, but you'll have bruising and swelling. And pain kind of starts kicking in around like 2 days, and then it plateaus. But most our patients don't take any narcotics, Tylenol and Advil. Maybe 1 or 2 at nighttime. Maybe not. So this is like the fastest recovery among like all aspects of lipedema treatment or liposuction. I mean, go general anesthesia loud or high volume, you name it. I mean, I would get calls from hospitals, people who are in the ICU after lipedema liposuction. In the ICU. I'm like, what? They're like, oh yeah, we've done this, we've done that, and now this, she got 2 units and this. And I'm like, oh my God, like, what's happening there? And you just get that all the time. And people reach out to me because that's what I do. So now I'm like, I am the expert in the field, and then I'm trying to help them out. And you know what's the best help is prevention. And that's why like I'm so passionate about it. You gotta help these people, because the patient doesn't know. Like they have no idea. They're like, oh yeah, you go there, and then they trust that surgeons and that. And the surgeon, it's not like they're doing it, they know it's not the best. Truly, deep inside, they think they are doing the best thing for that patient. But they don't know what they don't know. You really don't know what you don't know. So when the problems happen and they reach out to me, and now like that can have been easily prevented. So now sometimes what I get is people, they send me before that surgery. They say, hey, listen, you know what? I'm trying to do these lipedema cases. Is it okay if I send you the pictures of the patient? I'm like, as long as your patient is kind of agrees with that, is consented that you can share it, please send it to me, because I don't want to get in trouble for people sharing their patient's information with me. And then I take a look and I'm, okay, what's your plan? They're like, oh, my plan was to do like anterior, posterior, like 360, general anesthesia, all that, and just treat it one treatment. I'm like, man, do you realize that she has at least 20 liters of lipedema fat? She's like stage 4. what's her starting hemoglobin? It's like, oh, I don't know. I was like, okay, take a look at that. Because if you do all her in one session, she's going to end up in the ICU. Look at her varicose veins. Look at where she is. And if she's starting from hemoglobin of 10 or 12 or 13 and you're doing her entire legs 360. And by the way, how many cases you have that day? Oh, I have that and I have a facelift and I have that. I'm like, oh my God, man, like you just, you're heading to a wall. I'm like, 100% you're gonna have a problem here. Not 99%, 100%. And then I'm like, if that patient was my mom or that was my sister or my wife or my daughter, I'm like, holy cow, and so you gotta do your homework. That's all what I can say. You gotta, not to bash anyone or anything, just gotta really think about it. Go to the group, go to Maria's group, go to that stuff, try to understand, ask around, ask all the questions you can ask so you're making a right decision. And see also who's giving you kind of the, are they being compensated by somebody else? If a patient goes, if our patient goes and say, hey, you know what, Dr. Salameh is awesome, definitely go to him, and she's being paid by me, be careful. You don't want to go to me. You understand, you gotta make sure that the entire system is transparent. No one is getting any kickbacks from it. Any kickback you don't go with that surgeon. You just don't. You don't want to even come in. You don't want to go down that route. You don't want to be a learning curve for those people. So, again, giving it to you from the heart here, just to help as many people as I can. Allah is saying, how can I make an appointment? Link in bio. You go in there, you fill your new patient paperwork, and then you send your photos. I take a look at all those stuff, and then we can move you to a consultation and that. That being said, guys, we had so many, because we were booked in 2026, okay? And we had so many people complaining. It's like, oh my God, I'm gonna hit menopause, or, I don't want to get pregnant, and because Lipedema advances that. So I had to sit with Jerry, and then we opened few days. We have few days open for 2025. If you really want to get it done, go now, send your stuff, and then book them. Otherwise, these days are gonna be filled, and I don't think I'll be able to open any more days, because I try to also keep balance in what I do as well, because I do one a day because I want to stay in the best mental shape and physical shape, so I'm able to get these results every single time. So I try not to overbook myself on purpose, because I want to provide the best outcome possible for our patients. So these are limited positions. Carter is saying, where are you based? And thank you for making a space for us where you answer our question. Very humble and kind, and thank you, doctor. You're welcome. I'm based 1 hour north of Nashville Airport. And that's kind of where our practice is. I actually live in Nashville, but my practice is 1 hour north in Bowling Green, Kentucky. And that's when I first started, when I was doing all regular plastic surgery, general plastic surgery. But since now I only do LippyLipo, I just come here, do the cases, and then go back. So you fly to Nashville, and then most of our patients are out of state. They fly to Nashville, and then they drive 1 hour north to Bowling Green for their procedure. And I do get a lot of questions and comments on Insta. So instead, what I'm gonna try to do is every Monday, I'm gonna try to go live at 12 so that I answer any questions you guys have. This way, any questions you have, anything specific, anything that, send it to me. And if you want me to if you want me to kind of go over your case, let's say you're going with somebody, I'm more than happy to put your pictures there, give us the consent, all that stuff. I can at least add value. I can put your pictures, and then I can go over what I would do. And if you want to have your surgeon go on this live so that he learns what my plan is for your surgery, I'm happy to help out. Whatever I can do, especially for the people who cannot afford us, I get it, but I want to add value back. So let me see, I'm happy to do that as well. Oliver is asking, do you do skin removal? We don't. Our practice is only specialized in LippyLipo and liposuction only. We don't do skin removal, we don't do tummy tuck, we don't do thigh lifts, we used to do all that stuff. But due to the high demand, and for our own lipedema patients and being so loyal, that's all what we do. LippyLipo for lipedema. Amazing question. So we'll keep kind of going down the list here. Oliver saying, do your clinic have any relation with the one in Madrid? We don't. Our practice, I operate out of one location. Again, we're a boutique practice. That's who we are. Very selective. We do one procedure a day. It's about quality. We're not the type where high volume, high energy, high high numbers of people, insurance, all that. We don't. We're very exclusive. We're not associated with anyone. And on purpose, I do get a lot of people reaching out, whether they're selling stuff, this, that stuff. It's like, oh, can we, put our name here or this, or kind of like, affiliate or tag us and that, and you can get a kickback on the back end. I'm on purpose saying now, even though I love the people, like I love their companies, I love what they stand for, I use their products, I love it. But on purpose, I don't do that, so that I don't want at any point somebody to say, oh, he was doing that because he was getting that out of it. So this is very crucial, like honesty, transparency, it's so crucial, especially in our lipedema community. Again, because we were taken advantage of for so long by physicians, primary care, healthcare, your nutritionist, all that stuff. It's like, oh, you gotta eat more better, you gotta diet, you gotta exercise, you gotta this, you're not doing it right. So we were lied to all our lives. And then that's why like the rule for having any kickbacks and that should be zero. And you should like look at every practice and see, okay, what's the return? What's the return on that person? Why are they doing it? You gotta ask that question. Why is that influencer is spending like all day doing that stuff for that physician or that practice or that? Why? Ask the question. And if they're getting any kickback on the back end, then be careful for that. I'll be very careful. Okay, few plastic surgeons here that I know. Doc, good to see you here. Thank you so much. Brandy is asking, can you discuss the post-surgery pain is like? You know what, like, I'll tell you this patient. We did her surgery, she finished, no pain medications, zero. No Percocet, no Oxy, totally awake, no sedation, no IV sedation, no general anesthesia, like us talking now. She finished, we put the compression on, and she was walking out. Her and I were talking, and then she was hugging me in the waiting room, kind of when she's like, oh my God, I mean, it was like so easy and simple. So like, the pain, I mean, really no pain. If you take the time, one case the entire day, great experience, great outcome. I don't want to say it's zero, but it's a great experience. Nothing is zero, It's like maybe one or two certain areas they might feel it until I figured out, okay, well, she's standing here. Hold on 1 second. Let me go down on the speed. Let me go down on the cannula. Go from a different angle. Now it goes back down to zero. So it's not going to be like zero the entire case. So you go zero, and then you go 2, 3, and then it goes, I figured that out. Then I go to zero, and then 2, 3. That's kind of how the entire case is. When we start the liposuction, there's no pain at all. So now after that, because we inject pain medications, right, to numb it up. It starts to kind of basically around 12, 24, 36 hours, the pain starts to kind of like starts to appear because the numbing medicine is being absorbed by the body. And that's when I tell people, you might need a Percocet here and there. It's kind of on the recovery side. But that's pretty much it. Why are our patients having so good outcome with post-op pain and pain management? It all goes back to the numbing. You gotta make sure you numb all the areas before you thread any cannula in. Like if she's under general anesthesia, patients are so much pain the first week. You know why? Because the cannula is going through areas that's not well numb, and then even the patient's not feeling it because her brain is shut down. The body is feeling it, and the cortisol is up because it's going through those pain fibers, and she pays the price afterwards. Now her cortisol is through the roof. She's feeling all that stuff. The body is like shivering in the post-op area because of all the cortisol and all the stress hormones that got released because she was sedated and she was under general anesthesia. So that pain need afterwards is significantly high compared to our patients. So their recovery, they're doing so much better, like so much better. Now in terms of bruising and swelling, relatively the same on the long run, but in terms of pain, post-op recovery, walking, complication rate, I mean, it's a game changer. And that's coming from a person who used to do it under general anesthesia. So I've done it both parts. I've done it general, I've done it sedation, I've done it fully awake, I've done it LippyLipo. I mean, it's like, it's a game changer. The same person. So, and that's kind of like, I've seen it throughout, and I've treated patients, like thousands of patients at this point, and because that's all what we do. So I know exactly what, like from the first 30 seconds, I know how the experience of that patient. From the first small prick that I'm gonna start, I know how the patient's gonna do. And I tell her, I was like, hey, listen, you're gonna feel ta-ta-ta-ta-ta throughout the day. It's like, okay, good. So I know exactly the area that's gonna be bothersome, the area that's not gonna be bothersome, and I walk them through the entire case. And sometimes I go through areas like, it's standard, I stop, I go to the to the head of the table, like, hey, listen, you're doing amazing, because they are doing amazing, because certain areas, the nerves with the lipedema, they're like, so that I was like, okay, we're gonna take our time, I'm gonna numb the other side, then I'm gonna come back to this side, and I'm gonna this, that, and then like, okay, we got this, and then kind of we double team it. And working as a team with the patient, it's a game changer, because I know this way her recovery is gonna be much better. And most patients like, thank you so much, awesome. And the cool thing, guys, of her being awake is like, so I finish the bag, so same with this patient, I take a video, and then I go directly to the head of the test, like, hey, are you ready? It's like, oh yeah, I want to see it. And then I was like, okay, take a look. And then she starts like, and I tell you, like more than 90% every time, patients start crying. Because they're like, these are not my legs, but I can hear my voice in the camera, and I immediately, I take the video, and then I kind of go to see them, so that they know, like, this is them. Because most of the time, I just don't believe it. Like, I just cannot believe this is me. Like, it's unbelievable. Consistency in results is key. Okay. Maria saying, congrats, this is time consuming and lipedema needs patient surgeons. You are one of the few who do one surgery. My surgeon in Europe does one also. I love it, Maria. Like that speaks a lot. And again, like Maria doesn't get anything from me, and she's one of the few people that I know in the lipedema world who spend their life at this point adding value to the lipedema community. And that's why like her group is like the number group that I look at when patients come to me and they're asking me, I was like, go join her group. And it's Global Lipedema Awareness Group. You gotta join it, because like she's truly doing it to help as many people as she can. She's a lipedema warrior herself as well, so she gets it, and she's been through the entire experience, and she's just like, and again, and I want to make sure, because Maria at some point is like, oh, you're getting this and that from Salameh, and you're getting this and that, and I'm telling you, she's got zero from me, like zero, nothing, and she will never get anything from me, and that's on purpose. I mean, I would do anything for Maria, but that's for the value, because at any point, and you don't want anybody to get anything as a backdoor, because it devalues everything. And that's something that we have to say. And I know she got the heat on that from other surgeons, all that stuff. And it's all was lie. They were all like talking about it to ruin her reputation, ruin her image. And she's just like an unbelievable person. And the beauty about life, the truth always wins. You gotta give it time. When you give time, people can talk and this and try to ruin your reputation. But when you give it enough time, reality shows and the truth shows. Because you can't hide it. At some point, the true people, the true colors are gonna show. And that's her. So, one surgery a day is key. I couldn't agree more. Project Zion is asking, on average, how many sessions are needed? And our patient here, 2 sessions, okay? So, most of patients, they need like 360 degrees from here to here, because that's what we did here, and you can see this is kind of, I transitioned her very well from the thigh to the upper thigh if compared to that, right? So I did a great job here, but she's still, so I went from here down to here, and I did spend a lot of time transitioning from where the area lipo to that, but she needs another one from here to here, because as you can see, her inner thighs here are not treated. And kind of like you see from the back, also the inner thigh, the front thigh, and the back thigh, because the lipedema is 360. So she's gonna need 2 sessions. Most people, stage 1, stage 2, they need 2 sessions. Now, late stage 3 and stage 4, you need more than 2 sessions, 3 or 4, depending on how much lipedema fat you have. But I would say 80% of the population, they need 2 sessions for their legs. Good questions. I mean, this is awesome. I see like few patients, I have patients coming up here. I'm excited for your procedure here. Levin is asking, do you need to wear compression after and for how long? The answer is yes. Definitely you need the first 8 weeks after the procedure for everybody. That being said, early stages patients, they probably need it about 2 to 3 months. And then after that, they can start to wean off. Stage 4 people or people who have lipedema, lymphedema, they need compression lifelong. So I would say about 50 to 60% they need it short term. Around 30% they need it if they're standing a lot on their feet and doing a lot of, exercise or just too much where they swell intermittently. These 30% they need it intermittently, and then 10% the lymphedema, late stages, they would need it lifelong. But the goal is, once you have it, it's just basically like 6 to 8 weeks, 2 to 3 months, and just hopefully you won't need it. That being said, different bodies are different. Connie is asking, do you work with insurance for coverage? The short answer is no, we're not in that with insurance. We do one surgery a day. We're about quality, not quantity. I answered this question at length. I'm gonna save this live, go back to the live kind of afterwards and go over the live itself, and then see the part where I talk about 10 minutes about insurance and how does it work, so that you really get the detailed answer to that. I'm gonna try to go through the questions so I'm able to answer everybody here, if that's okay. Zichesky saying, I'm coming next month, so anxious and excited at the same time. I hope for the easy recovery and good results. You're gonna do great. I'm so excited for you. Being anxious, it's very normal. Like, because you know what, the brain doesn't do that every day. You've had it your entire life, and the brain's like, what's gonna happen? Am I gonna get this results? I don't wanna get too much excited. What if I don't get this outcome? And the brain kind of starts talking with itself. So I can tell you, you're gonna do great, you're gonna have great experience. You would never leave here until I have video, you're seeing the picture and you're like, oh my God, that looks great. If you see the video and you're like, I'm not so sure about it, please tell me. Because like, you would never leave the table without looking amazing. You're gonna do awesome. It's okay to be anxious. I'm gonna walk you through it. You're gonna do amazing. Joe is saying, I need a thigh lift. And using a normal consultant, however, they have advised I might need further lippy. Is that a risk? Okay, that's an amazing question. Don't do your thigh lift without doing your liposuction first. I've had many patients where they had a thigh lift done and then they come to me for the liposuction. I'm like, don't do it, because you have the fat, you tighten the skin over your lipedema fat. And now when I go in and liposuction that fat, you're gonna have loose skin on top of that fat. Even though you're gonna look great when you lay down because the skin is draping well, you're not gonna look good standing up because now you have the extra skin. Don't do your thigh lift first. Do your liposuction first, finish the infrastructure, and then tighten the skin on top of that liposuction. So don't do that first. And I don't know why some people do that. Not people as patients, like some surgeons do that. Like, don't. It's a mistake. It truly is a mistake. Finish your liposuction, then tighten the skin at the end. If you do it the other way around, you're gonna need another session of skin tightening or skin resection after your liposuction. I'm glad you asked this question here. Don't do it the other way around. The other question I have here is Jennifer. Do you do skin tightening? Jennifer, take a look. Do you think I did skin tightening here? Yes or no? That's a perfect. They say, oh, are you using J-plasma, laser, vaser, all that stuff? I'm like, take a look. No. We do skin tightening, part of the LippyLipo procedure. That's a lot of marketing stuff that they upcharge people for results, and that at the expense of burns, scarring, fibrosis, all that stuff. If you go to the right surgeons who know what they're doing, they're going to do skin tightening as part of the procedure. Perfect skin. And she had the previous liposuction done, cold sculpting, she had like other stuff done by other surgeons. We're still able to get her from here to here without using any of those marketed devices that would pay extra for no reason. Because if I can show this picture and say, oh look, we've done like skin tightening on her and look how awesome the skin tightening is. People are like, oh my God, what did you use? And I'm going to say, well, I used XYZ for that. Oh my God, that's amazing. I'm going to use, yeah, but you're going to pay $10,000 for that XYZ. Okay, but I want to get those results. I'm going to pay for it. Now they have an excuse for an upcharge. Don't fall for that. You just, all our patients, we don't do it and they all look like that. They look amazing. Now, stage 3, stage 4, massive weight loss, they need skin resection. They need skin resection even before the LippyLipo. So don't let people take advantage of you guys. Very good. Excellent. Let's keep on going here. Good questions. Carl is asking, do you also operate arms by lipedema? Absolutely. We do arms as well. Most of our cases, 80% are legs, because 80% of lipedema patients have legs, and then we do arms, and then we do trunks. But most of what you see is legs. That's all what we do. I'd say about 80% of what we do. But it's the same technique. It's the same thing for arms Debbie's asking, where can we see prices? If you go back on this live, I'm gonna save it. We discussed prices, insurance, all that stuff. Kind of and I spoke detail about it. I'm gonna keep on going so that I answer as many questions as we can. Jennifer is asking, do you operate lipedema caused by gastric bypass? Good question. Most patients after gastric bypass actually have lipedema. Why is that? Because lipedema fat is resistant to diet and exercise. Lipedema fat doesn't respond to diet, exercise, massive weight loss, GLP-1 agonist, all the new generation that they help, but they don't get these results. Like normal shaped legs from lipedema legs. Normal lipedema. That you can't see with anything else. So most of our patients with that, they come to us after they bypass or after their surgery, and that's when we do liposuction on them and LippyLipo on them. Clover is asking, which country do you operate, please, within the United States, 1 hour north of Nashville airport. Gulu is saying, I have sent your team my pictures of my legs. May I ask when I should expect a feedback? Usually it's around 24 to 48 hours. Now that being said, sometimes we get, let me connect so you guys understand kind of like what we go through here. We get around 400 to 500 inquiries a week for lipedema, okay? So every week we get around that much. Out of those, we do 2 cases. So we have like around 498 not eligible, not candidate, or this or that. So kind of like to put things in perspective. So we try our best to get them out within 24, 48 hours to reach out, whether for the consultation or if they're not a candidate. Because sometimes we get patients who don't have lipedema. We would never operate on somebody who doesn't have lipedema and say, hey, you know, you've got lipedema. Or vice versa. Or if we feel somebody who's like, we cannot improve, or like she's lucky. She was done by somebody else, but looking at the problems that they did, I'm able to fix those problems. Unfortunately, you get sometimes people who are so messed up that you cannot fix them. And they're not candidates. I'll say, you know, because you just really can't improve it. They over-resected so much, they took out so much that it looks like skin graft, or where the skin is dead, or they got burned from those devices, and you just cannot fix them. And it's like, you never you want to go and take patients' money for stuff that we cannot improve. So a lot of people actually don't fit what we can improve. So if you're lucky and you're one of the ones that we can improve, we're going to tell you, oh yes, you know, we're going to help you, you know, and then we'll figure that out. But if not, we're going to be very honest about it. Again, and that's the other thing you want to look at. How much the volume is that practice is getting. It's, let's say if we get like 1 inquiry a week, you're going to want to treat that patient because you have no choices. But if you're getting 500 a week and you only do 2, right? So you want to really make sure you choose the one that you're going to have the best experience and the best results possible. So that's very important to take a look at. So great points here. Let's keep on asking here. How do you or recommend the Vaser? That's, you know, we talked a lot about these energy devices. We do LippyLipo, we don't do any Vaser, laser, J-plasma, this, that. It's different things for different stuff. In my opinion, you get amazing, consistent results without the extra pricing of stuff that you have to add that potentially don't add anything. If anything, it adds to the complication. So I'll be very careful for somebody selling a device or a machine versus somebody talking about the outcome, the experience, the results. You're not buying the machine, you're buying the results. You're buying the experience, you're buying the ability to get consistency, able to get to your dream outcome, whether that's cosmetic, whether that's playing with your kids or grandkids or keeping up with your family. That's what you're looking for. Be careful, don't fall for that, oh, you know what, I want to get this shiny thing. That shiny thing might not get you to where you need to get. Do your homework. Carter is asking, Maria, please can you share with us your group or your Instagram? Maria, feel free to add your link here. I'm happy to kind of like share it with our audience as well. MP is asking, do diuretics affect fluids in the legs? I mean, that's a great question. A lot of lipedema patients are actually on diuretics because a lot of it is I mean, lipedema, the word lipid is fat, edema means swelling, it's fluid, right? So lipid is swelling within the fat itself. So sometimes diuretics does help, but it's not the treatment, it's like a band-aid to the problem. Right, so there's no cure for lipedema. Even LippyLipo, it's not like a curative disease. It's a lifelong. It's like somebody who has hypertension. You know, like you maintain it, you improve it, but it's not like, you know, that's it. It's done. So it's like a continuous thing. So you might still need diuretics. You might not, depending on, do you have lipedema, lymphedema? What stage are you? How's your heart condition? What are the causes of edema? Most of our patients don't need diuretics. Kind of like 80% plus. MRS, Mrs. Botso, how much ranges the price of the surgery of any insurance covers that? Okay, great questions. To make it short, we discussed that in detail early on, so I'm gonna save it, go back to the live so that it talks about prices and insurance. But the short answer, we're not in network with insurance. But go back to the live after I save it, because we discussed that in details. I'm gonna keep on going here so I get more questions answered. Zicheski is asking for stage 2, how's the skin retraction in the inner thigh area? That's a great question. For stage 2, knee down, the thigh is going to do amazing. From the knee up, it's going to depend on 2 factors. Massive weight loss and how much fat we have in that area. Let's say if you have significant amount of fat and patients had significant weight loss, we're starting with skin laxity, probably you're more at the chance of needing skin resection in the future. However, if somebody has good collagen, no massive weight loss, starting like our patient here, like good skin tone, skin laxity, she's not gonna need any skin resection. So that's, you start getting into that kind of like gray area where 100% they need skin resection if you're stage 4 taking more than 20 liters out and massive weight loss, you're gonna need skin resection 100%. The opposite end of the spectrum is stage 1, healthy, young, good collagen, definitely 100% you're not going to need skin resection. And then everything in between, it will become into that gray area. The answer to your question is gray area, and it depends on the patient themselves. When you come here for your procedure, I'll be examining you and I'm going to tell you kind of like what are the percentages. Are you more on this side of the curve or more on that side of the curve? Very good question. One further is asking, is a lipedema caused by gastric bypass curable? Thank you. Lipedema, to put it, it's not, gastric bypass doesn't cause lipedema. Lipedema is something genetic that you're born with, it runs in family, it starts at puberty, gets worse with menopause, gets worse with pregnancy. What happened probably in your case is after your gastric bypass, you lost the regular fat and now you can see the actual lipedema fat, which you've always had. It's not the bypass caused lipedema. Bypass, your gastric bypass probably unveiled the current lipedema fat cells that you've had for a long time. And LippyLipo is going to be the treatment for those liposuction for that fat cells. Now, patients with massive weight loss or gastric bypass, like our previous patients we got asked, is make sure don't get skin resection before you get your liposuction done. Because if you resect the skin, assuming that's going to take care of your lipedema, it's not going to take care of the lipedema because it's going to only take care of that area. It will not take care of the 360, and then you're going to end up needing another skin resection after the LippyLipo is done. So be very careful of that, and that's especially for the people who have gastric bypass. Are the results temporary? No. We rarely see people coming back for a redo, or actually we haven't had any, 0. I'm sure somebody's gonna have, but I would say more than 99% chance there is chances of it coming back or regrowth, or that we rarely see it. Rarely see it. So that's a good question, and that's a common question because people don't want to say, oh, you know what, I treat it now and then I go and then it's gonna come back in 2 years and then I have to do it again, and then we just don't see that. And at this point we have long-term results that we don't have patients where we've done like 5 years ago and then they're coming here and they're saying, oh, you know what, like, you know, now I used to be stage 1, 2, now I'm like stage 3. It just doesn't happen. Can you just do saddlebags? We do saddlebags. That being said, most lipedema patients, they have it 360 degree. So you can do saddlebag, and if you just have saddlebag and you don't have 360, probably you don't have lipedema. And if you don't have lipedema, we don't treat it. Why we don't treat it? Because our practice is only dedicated for lipedema patients. Because again, we have very limited spots. I want to only open them to our lipedema community. I cannot open it to everyone, because if we start doing like liposuction to everyone, to non-lipedema patients, we'll probably be booked for the next 50 years until I die. Truly, like, you know, that it's just kind of like, so I just have like certain spots, and I just open them to all lipedema patients. So if you just have a saddlebag issue, that, I mean, make sure you go to an expert that they know what they don't get to the outcome. But if you have lipedema, we will treat it as part of the 360 lipo to the thighs. We always treat the saddlebags. But if you don't have lipedema, we cannot treat you again, because we want those positions to be, those open spots to be to all lipedema patients. Hita is saying, I have mailed by name, please respond, thank you. Yep, we'll take a look and kind of get back to you. Again, guys, we get around 500 inquiries a week, and we only do 2 surgeries. We're very selective. We will get back to you. We get back to everybody. You're just going to give us time, because I review everything that comes. I review the patient paperwork, the photos, all that stuff, just to make sure we are truly selective on whom we're going to get as a patient, and we're going to be able to get them these amazing results consistently. Project Zion is asking, would you recommend having the procedure once I'm done having kids, or is it better to get it sooner? Get it sooner. I cannot stress that enough. Why is that? We've known for a fact that pregnancy advances lipedema. With every pregnancy, your lipedema is going to get worse. You hit menopause, it's going to get even worse. So it starts at puberty, gets worse with pregnancy. With multiple pregnancy, it gets worse. So it's much easier for me and for you to treat early stages than to become stage 2, 3, 4, and then treat it. Because guess what's going to happen? You don't get it done, you get through pregnancy, and then like 4, 5 years, 10 years, whatever that amount is, now you're stage 3, okay? You need more sessions, and you might need skin resection. When you treat it early on, before pregnancy, you need 2 sessions and no skin resection. And better cosmetic outcome, less chances of advancement in pregnancy. It's like no different than, like, you know, fixing a cavity in the tooth. I mean, if you let it go, you're gonna end up with root canal, crown, all that stuff. You fix it early on, it's a tiny problem. So, and that's how lipedema is. Early treatment, it's tiny problem. You let it advance, it becomes bigger problem, bigger solution, bigger recovery, all that stuff, costs more, all that. Treat it early. Earlier treatment is key. Now, somebody is about to get pregnant, is pregnant, you can't do anything, it is what it is, you know, like, you gotta wait, get the kid, and then get it done afterwards. But if you're not sure, get it sooner. Same, I would say, for menopause. Let's say you're in your 40s, you know, you have that 5 to 10 year, 15 year window, get it done now. Don't wait. You go through menopause, I promise you it's gonna extend. I mean, that's kind of how we've seen it. I've seen it with patients. Like, they come to me, it's like, I went through menopause 2 years ago, and I just, like, you know, it went crazy. And I cannot lose it. Of course you're not gonna lose it, because it's lipedema. Now, with those patients, they didn't know better, right? They didn't listen to this now. If they had listened, they would have done it, and then it would make our life easier on both of us. So if you're perimenopausal, you haven't been through menopause, get it done. Like, don't even think about it. And if you can't, talk to Jerry, we'll open a spot for you, because it's gonna make your life easier on the long run, right? So this is very important. Or if you're pre-pregnancy, this is like very important. You gotta treat it sooner than later. Otherwise, the chances of progressing is much more. I see Maria has her Facebook link here, guys. Everybody on this live, go to her group. Make sure you follow her. Ask questions. There's many surgeons on her group that you can talk to. All that stuff. Again, guys, the point of this, it will be great if you come see me, but at the same time, like, do your homework. Go find your match when it comes to surgeons' outcome expertise. Not everyone is a match to our practice, and that's okay. But find your match. It's very important. You want to match the right surgeon with the right practice to what you're looking for. And the best way to do that is by going to groups, asking people, asking questions, doing your homework, and knowing if there's any kickback any of these people are getting. And if there is a kickback, take it with a grain of salt. Look at that and kind of, this is so important. So important. And if you have any doubt, you had the consultation done, stuff done, you're not so sure, you got like mixed advice, send us the stuff. I'll put it on a Monday at 12. I'll put it here. I'll go and I'll tell you my honest opinion, what I would do if you were my patient. And I get it. If you can't afford us, that's okay. But at least send it to us. I can tell you what I would do. And at least hopefully you can have your surgeon. If you can have your surgeon jump on these, that would be even better. At least I can guide them, especially if somebody who's overseas. There's a lot of people cannot get a visa to come to the US for me to treat them. So they're like, you know, what can we do? Like, you know, we want to come to you, can you help us support with visa? And I'm like, I just don't do that. However, like, if you want your surgeon overseas or whatever you are, I'm happy to at least guide them on the live. I don't do like outside this live, so I'm going to dedicate 1 hour, whatever, at 12 o'clock Central Time on Monday to try to give back value as much as possible to our lipedema community until I burn out, you know, and then I might take a break. But for the time being, I'm gonna keep on doing that. So let's keep on going. Anna is asking, are board certified plastic surgeons the best qualified to do the procedure? There are other providers who claim to be experts in the field, but they are board certified internal medicine. You know, that's a great question. Like, I've seen a spectrum of things. I'm a double board certified plastic surgeon, okay? But that being said, I've seen results from board certified plastic surgeons in lipedema. I'm like, oh my God, they're just not good. Now, does that mean that that surgeon is bad? No, I think that surgeon might be very good in a lot of stuff, but they're just not good in lipedema liposuction, right? So you gotta be careful, like, being board certified plastic surgeon doesn't make you the best in the world in everything, right? Like, you know, like if I'm doing, I don't know, XYZ surgery and plastic surgery, I'm not the best in the world at it. I'm not going to get you this result. But you come to me for lipedema, I'm going to get you this result 100%. So you got to make sure what you're getting. Now, being non-board certified plastic surgeon, it's not like the norm, but you got to do your homework, you're going to do that. And I've seen great results by people not board certified by plastic surgery. Now, would that something like in the US? I mean, there's a lot of rules and regulations for a reason, because unfortunately, the odds are, let's say if you pick somebody who's board certified, somebody who's not board certified, the odds are you're going to get a better outcome with somebody who's board certified. But that's odds. But sometimes not every board certified is going to get you the best on the person who's not board certified. So you gotta put that in perspective. Now, like, but that's kind of like being totally honest about it, right? Now, if my board comes like, oh, what this guy is talking about, you gotta be board, and I agree with the board because they have certain, to be board certified in plastic surgery, you gotta have like, I mean, you go through so much to be able to, so you have at least, you have a threshold that you gotta be super smart, done all the hope to be able to get to that level. But it's not like, oh, that board certified, you're gonna get a great outcome. No. That's why you have to do the homework. Being board certified, it's like a start. Like that's a must. And then you gotta push kind of like reviews before and afters. This, are you a good connection to that surgeon? Can you relate to them? You know, like, because think about it, like you're with them, like, I mean, that's your life. Like, if I don't feel comfortable with that surgeon, I mean, I don't know, like, you know, it's not worth it. Whether board certified or not, you know, like, so before getting there, I think there's a lot of things that you have to answer and really emotionally connect to that person. Manal is saying, I am 60 years, can I do it? Absolutely. So a lot of our patients are 60. So actually, that's a great question. So you have a window. Now, yes, you have to do it now. You wait when you're 70s, mid-70s, 80s, you're beyond that window. And the reason for that is the heart. Because when you do those cases, you're injecting fluid, you're injecting numbing, you're injecting epinephrine. If you don't have good reserve in the heart, that's where most people we say no to when they get to that 70s and 80s, where I feel the heart is not going to be able to accommodate the fluid. At 60s, you have that window. And I'm like, it's the same thing. It's like if you're before menopause in your 40s, get it done ASAP. If you're after menopause, get it done ASAP, even though kind of it progressed to menopause, but because you have a window, because after that, God forbid, you have a stroke, heart problems, issues that you don't have enough reserve. And then you won't be able to have the surgery, you cannot get the surgery, lipedema progress, it affects your mobility, and people go through a downward slope until they become not able to walk, affects their lifestyle, and ultimately they die. Truly, because they're not functional. Like, it's a mental thing. So there is a window, kind of like, like 60 to 65, maybe up to, we've done people in that 74, but I'm not like, I'll be extremely careful with that population. Sometimes we'll stage it, like, we're very selective, but if you're in your 60, do it now. Like, that's your window to do it. Kitty's asking, can I repeat the gastric bypass surgery? I mean, that's a question kind of related to your bypass surgeon. My expertise is LippyLipo for lipedema. So I can't answer that question. Leonie is saying, do you have any examples of a knee overhang after surgery? I'd like to see how it changes, please. So that's a good question. So if you have, let's say this patient, after her surgery, she has like skin coming down here, like, like kind of the entire skin collapse. That tells me that this patient is a massive weight loss patient. She had so much fat removed from her thighs that she will ultimately need skin resection. So before her surgery, I'm telling her, hey, listen, kind of like the questions we got asked earlier on, you are on that end of the spectrum because you are going to have more than 15 to 20 liters of liposuction done. You're going to have redundant skin. You're a massive weight loss. You're based on the age or the collagen, you don't have good collagen, you're gonna need skin resection because you're gonna have that extra skin because you deflate the cylinder, that skin's gonna go down, and that's what you see on top of that skin. And the treatment there is not liposuction. You waste your money on liposuction. The treatment there is skin resection. You're gonna go to somebody who does skin resection for that. But you would have been, the good thing is like you would know about it before your procedure. You have to know that. Very good. So let's keep on going here. Basma is saying, what's the difference between the normal liposuction and LippyLipo, I guess? So normal liposuction, like this patient had, she had like liposuction on the inner thigh and liposuction kind of like above the knee. And that's what resulted in contour irregularities on her. So she had regular liposuction. It's cheaper. People go to buy board certified plastic surgeon. They go there, they just don't know. This is LippyLipo. So if you want to go from here, look at the shape of lipedema shape, to a normal looking legs, that's LippyLipo. That's 360 lipo. That's taking the entire day to do amazing outcome, taking the time, micro cannula, awake, this, that. That's LippyLipo. Regular liposuction, she was done in like, she was saying she was done like maybe an hour and a half. And she had transfer at the same time. She had like fat transfer with her procedure. So that tells you, like, you don't want to really transfer that lipedema fat, truly, like it's a diseased fat, you want to get rid of it. That's number one. Number two, you cannot do a lipedema case in an hour and a half and get a good outcome. She got this outcome. I wish I had the original picture, just see how much improvement she had. It is what it is. To get this outcome, so everybody wants to get this outcome for so fast and so cheap. It just doesn't happen. I truly wish I can get this outcome in like 1 hour and just in and out. Then great, then I can do for a day and then just have it priced accordingly and then treat even more people. But it just doesn't work. It's like, I wish I can eat whatever I want to eat and not gain weight. It just doesn't work. It's a wish. It just doesn't happen. It's real life. Betty is asking, do varicose veins affect your process? It doesn't. I mean, I changed my technique a little bit. I'm more careful. I look more at the hemoglobin beforehand, kind of the blood level. And I'll tell patients, we got to be careful here. You might want to stop at certain points and that. But, we don't treat varicose veins before the LippyLipo. We treat the LippyLipo first, and then we treat the vein. We have the patient get the vein treated at a later date. And most patients actually end up not having their veins treated because they get better after the LippyLipo and liposuction. Why is that? Because sometimes the obstruction to the vein is actually from the lipedema fat, and when you take out that lipedema fat, the venous outflow becomes better and the vein engorgement is much less, and then they won't need as many procedures for their veins as they would have needed if their LippyLipo was not done. And as asking, how long does each procedure take? About 4 to 6 hours, depending on the complexity. Sometimes it takes us 6, sometimes it takes us 4. Most people within that range. And the reason is we do one procedure a day, we take our time. It's like baking a cake. I mean, you put that cake, you turn the oven all the way up, this, that, it's gonna burn, it's not gonna good. You gotta take the time, you gotta put the ingredients right, like every single step has to be perfect to get the look, the shape, and the outcome, and the taste that you want. No different than with Lipedema. It's the same thing. You gotta have the best results, you gotta know what you're doing, you gotta have done it hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times, and you're consistent and you're taking the time every single time. You can't rush these procedures. To rush this procedure, you get this outcome and you waste your money. So this is crucial. It's not about speed. It's really not. And that's coming from like, you know, I still have the fastest record of Whipple at Yale. Like, you know, it's like the biggest general surgery that you ever do. So I'm one of the most efficient surgeons. And I still like, it's not the speed, it's the quality, it's the outcome that matters. Take the time, do it right from the get-go is the way to go. Nita is asking whether you're located with 1 hour north of Nashville Airport. 253 Brina is saying, what if you have big muscular calves? Can you get this in? Absolutely. I mean, like, again, the calves, it's like the infrastructure. So with LippyLipo, lipedema, it's the fat that sits between the skin and the muscle. So the muscle doesn't mean much for us. It's how much lipedema fat we have between the muscle and the skin. Obviously, the thinner the muscle, the thinner the entire leg is gonna be. So we do an ultrasound on everyone before that surgery. Everybody gets an ultrasound. It gives me an idea and gives the patient an idea of how much thickness we have of lipedema fat. Does the patient, and we see the muscles as well, and the bone. Does the patient have that much thickness of lipedema fat, or they have that much thickness? Obviously, the smaller the muscle, the more the thickness of the lipedema fat is. And we have to look at that ratio and factor that in terms of what we're doing on the LippyLipo. And I was asking, do you take any insurance? I answered this question at length earlier on. I'm going to save this live, go back to it. But the short answer, we're not in network with insurance because we're about quality. We do only one case a day, and we're about quality and not quantity. And this is gonna last question here, and then I'm losing my voice. I'll have another one on Monday, next Monday, guys, at 12 to answer these questions, but kind of let's to answer this one. How do you know if you have stage 2, 3, or 4 lipedema? So if you go to our live Q&As, I've discussed at length kind of like showed stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. But kind of as a rough estimate, our patient is stage 1/2. Patients who have like a lot of fullness of fat, that's like the ultimate kind of like stage 4, and kind of stage 3 is in between. So if you go to the live, you'll be able to kind of tell. So you have stages and then you have types. And they're two different. So you've got stages kind of like how advanced the lipedema is. Types is which area of the body is involved. It can be like the buttock shelf, type 1, down to the knees, type 2, down to the ankles, type 3, which is the most common type. Type 4, where you have also arms involvement, elbow all the way to the wrist. And then type 5, basically now knee down by itself. Anyhow, I hope that helped, guys. I love doing these. If you have any questions, leave them for next week. And then I'll join you next week and I'll answer any questions you guys have.